I keep hearing these complaints all over. Some people, generally women, keep complaining their husbands are excessively physical. Some women constantly complaining, he doesn't lay a finger upon me. Whatever happens, it's a problem, because it'll never happen exactly the way you want it. As long as another person is involved, nothing will ever happen 100% the way you want it, isn't it so? Yes or no? It never will. It doesn't matter if you get married to your god, it still won't happen. If there is a need, if I ask you to stop it, you will become perverted because it'll all happen in your head. If somebody is telling you, you have to do it, if you don't do it, you're not normal, another kind of perversion will come. Yes and no, in the sense, it is not the sexuality which limits it, but it's the excessive identity with the physicality which limits it. So, it is not sexuality per se which becomes the barrier, but the attachment it creates to the physicality which definitely becomes the barrier. This question is coming from a certain amount of bits and pieces, the gossip that you have heard about how you could assimilate your own semen and raise it up to your higher possibility. Yes, it is true. At the same time, it is not because of abstinence that one does it, it is because of internalizing your energies that you do it. It is not simply that somebody is abstaining from sex and suddenly his energies are all organized and it's going up. It's not true. If your energies get organized and begin to move up, the need for sexuality may evaporate for you, but it doesn't leave you incapable. It doesn't leave you impotent, but the need is gone. It is just no more a compulsive thing. And it is not just this one thing, all compulsiveness is lost. Essentially, most of the sexuality that's happening on the planet is happening because of a certain compulsiveness, isn't it? It's a compulsive drive. When you become conscious, when all compulsiveness disappears, this also disappears. It is just that because people are so body-oriented, they're always thinking spirituality versus sexuality. They are not connected. They are not connected, one is of the body, another is of a different dimension. It is simply because people are so… because religions of the world, moral schools and the ethical schools have been always speaking against it, it has become such a big issue in people's minds, they think the only way to know something beyond is, you must be away from this. Because somewhere you're not able to accept the simple biology of a human being, which is the tragedy, that you cannot accept the simple biology. You either have to celebrate it or you have to push it down the drain. Both are not needed. You can look at it for the limitation that it is and for the possibility that it is. So, if because of the impurity of sex, your spirituality is going to get disturbed, I want you to know that your very birth is impure. When you come from such an impure birth, where is the possibility for you? There is no possibility for you. Only if you fell from somewhere else, if the stoke dropped you, there is some possibility of you becoming spiritual. If your mother had a normal birth, you have no possibility. A 6-year-old girl came home one day from school and asked, "Mama, how was I born?" The mother was embarrassed. She said, "A stoke dropped you." I said, "Okay." She noted down. "Mama, how were you born?" "A stoke dropped me too." "Mama, how was grandmama born?" "A stoke dropped her too." Then the girl became serious and she went down and sat down and started writing something in her homework. Then the mother was feeling uncomfortable, she finished her cooking and then the girl had finished her homework and left the book there, she went and read. So the essay was about the family tree. So the girl had written, "For 3 generations in my family, nobody had a natural birth." So because of absurd ideas, either we exaggerate something or we try to unnecessarily play it down. It has a certain role in your life. If you make it too big, you will become perverted in your head. If you try to obliterate it, you will become even more perverted in your mind. After all, now I am speaking, this is a kind of energy. You are looking at me, this is a kind of energy. You are listening to me, this is a kind of energy. These are different expressions of the same life energy, isn't it? Now, sexuality is also another expression of the same energy. Now, one has to decide how much of his energy, in which direction he wants to send it. Because after all, you are a limited amount of energy, isn't it? See, it's just like you have an income, let's say you have $5,000 a month. How much for the house rent, how much for eating, how much for schooling, how much just for fun, how much for vacation, your portion, isn't it? Tomorrow morning, you got your salary, in the evening you went out and blew it up. Now the next month is going to be trouble, isn't it? Of course you have a credit card, but everything in your life, if you are handling your life sensibly, everything in your life is apportioned according to your understanding, your need and your capability, isn't it so? Yes? Your money, time, energy, isn't everything allotted the way you like to arrange it? This is also the same thing. How much of it? First of all, do you need it? Or are you doing it because of socially you're psyched? If there is a need, if I ask you to stop it, you will become perverted because it'll all happen in your head. If somebody is telling you, you have to do it, if you don't do it, you're not normal, another kind of perversion will come. Both are not needed. After all, you are not going after a man or woman, you are going after a certain level of pleasantness. So once you experience a certain level of pleasantness, wouldn't you like to dig deeper into this? Because whatever pleasantness happened, maybe you used the other person, but the pleasantness happened within you, right? So suppose anyway the pleasantness is happening within you, the other person is just a key to open this, wouldn't you like to have the key in your own hands? Yes? That if you sit like this, you are on full scale. You don't need anybody. No, see, anything in your life, either for pleasure, money, love, this, that, it doesn't matter what, for whatever, the moment you become dependent on another person, nobody on this planet is truly reliable, isn't it? I keep hearing these complaints all over. Some people, generally women, keep complaining their husbands are excessively physical. Some woman constantly complaining, he doesn't lay a finger upon me. Whatever happens, it's a problem, because it'll never happen exactly the way you want it. As long as another person is involved, nothing will ever happen 100% the way you want it, isn't it so? Yes or no? It never will. It doesn't matter if you get married to your god, it still won't happen. As long as your way of being, your sense of pleasure and joy is dependent on other person, you will always have a complaint. Doesn't matter how wonderful the other person is. So in this context, people might have talked about celibacy because they said, take some time off. Because to extract pleasure out of somebody, you have to play any number of tricks. It doesn't happen simply. This is called as courting. Once you go to the court, the judgment day will come. It takes enormous amount of time, effort, energy, and all kinds of other things, frustrations, jealousies, problems, everything attached to it. So somebody said, take time off from those things and see if this could be internally generated, and then being with people will become more out of your love than out of your need, which is definitely a better way to be with people, isn't it? It is definitely a better way of honoring another human being, isn't it so? Give this a little more attention. Instead of paying attention to that one and that one and that one, give this one a little more attention. It will produce much more pleasure than any other one can produce for you.
The pineal gland, a small endocrine gland located deep within the brain, has fascinated scientists and researchers due to its unique physiological functions and its association with mystical and spiritual beliefs in various cultures. This tiny gland, shaped like a pine cone, hence its name, has been the subject of extensive scientific investigation across multiple disciplines ranging from neuroscience and endocrinology to psychology and spirituality. Here's a detailed exploration of the scientific data and research findings concern the pineal gland. Anatomy and location. The pineal gland is situated in the epithalamus near the center of the brain between the two hemispheres. Its position close to the thalamus and hypothalamus, structures involved in sensory perception, motor functions and hormone regulation. Despite its small size, about the size of a pea, the pineal gland plays a significant role in regulating in various physiological processes, melatonin production and circadian rhythms. One of the primary functions of the pineal gland is the synthesis and secretion of the hormone melatonin. Melatonin is involved in regulating the sleep-wake cycle and is primarily produced during periods of darkness. The pineal gland receives signals from the suprachiasmatic nucleus (SCN) of the hypothalamus, which serves as the body's master clock to modulate melatonin secretion based on the light-dark cycle. Melatonin levels typically rise in the evening, promoting sleep, and decrease in the morning, promoting wakefulness. Regulation of biological clocks. The pineal gland's role in regulating circadian extends beyond sleep-wake cycles. It influences various physiological processes including body temperature, hormone secretion, metabolism, and immune function. Disruptions to the pineal gland's function, such as altered melatonin production due to shift work, jet lag, or exposure to artificial light at night, can lead to circadian rhythm disorders and associated health issues. Neurotransmitter receptors and signaling. In addition to melatonin production, the pineal gland contains receptors for various neurotransmitters, hormones, and peptides, indicating its involvement in broader neuroendocrine signaling pathways. For example, serotonin receptors are abundant in pineal gland, and serotonin serves as a precursor for melatonin synthesis. Other neurotransmitters and hormones such as norepinephrine and dopamine also modulate pineal gland function. Calcification. The pineal gland has a propensity to accumulate calcium deposits, a process known as calcification. Calcification of the pineal gland tends to increase with age and can be observed through medical imaging techniques such as magnetic resonance imaging or computed tomography. While the significance of the pineal gland calcification remains a topic of ongoing research, some studies have suggested associations with pineal calcification and certain neurological disorders, including Alzheimer's disease. Seasonal changes and photoperiodism. In many animal species, the pineal gland plays a crucial role in detecting changes in day length and influencing seasonal behaviors. For example, in birds, the pineal gland helps regulate migratory patterns, and breeding seasons in response to changes in daylight duration. Similarly, in mammals, including humans, the pineal gland may play a role in seasonal adaptations and behaviors, although the extent of its influence in humans is less well understood. Clinical implications and disorders. Dysfunction of the pineal gland can lead to various clinical manifestations and disorders. Reduced melatonin production or disrupted circadian rhythms have been implicated in sleep disorders, mood disorders such as seasonal affective disorder, and certain neurological conditions. Understanding the underlying mechanisms of pineal gland dysfunction is essential for developing effective treatments for these disorders. Spiritual and philosophical perspectives. Throughout history, the pineal gland has been associated with spiritual and philosophical concepts, particularly in Eastern and esoteric traditions. René Descartes famously referred to the pineal gland as the seat of the soul in his philosophical writings, although modern science approaches such ideas with skepticism. Nonetheless, the pineal gland's central role in regulating consciousness, perception, and sleep-wake cycle has led to speculation about its potential involvement in mystical experiences and altered states of consciousness. Advanced imaging techniques. Recent advancements in medical imaging technologies have enabled researchers to study the pineal gland structure and function with greater precision. High-resolution MRI and functional MRI techniques allow for non-invasive investigation of the pineal gland's activity in response to various stimuli, shedding light on its role in brain function and behavior. In conclusion, the pineal gland remains a fascinating area of study within the fields of neuroscience, endocrinology, and psychology. While much progress has been made in understanding its physiological functions and clinical implications, there is still much to learn about this enigmatic gland and its intricate interplay with the rest of the body and mind. Ongoing research endeavors continue to unravel the mysteries of the pineal gland and its significance in health, disease, and human experience.